Not made this decision lightly. The National Guard represents a last resort in order to restore order. Look, people have the right to protest and express their frustration, but Baltimore City families deserve peace and safety in their communities, and these acts of violence and destruction of property cannot and will not be tolerated. I strongly condemn the actions of those who engaged in direct attacks against innocent civilians, businesses, and law enforcement officers. The resources of the state police and the National Guard have already been deployed in support of all law enforcement in the city. They will exercise disciplined restraint and provide the support necessary to ensure safety and to bring law and order to Baltimore City. We've got our entire team here. I'm going to turn the podium over here for a moment to Colonel William Palazzi, who's the superintendent of our state police, and then we will hear from General Linda Singh, and who's the Adjutant General of the Maryland National Guard, and also Clay Stamp, who is the Director of the Maryland Emergency Management Agency, where we are here tonight. So I'm going to start now with Colonel Palazzi of the State Police, and then we'll be happy to take your questions after everybody has spoken. Thank you.
Good evening. As the governor said, I'm Colonel William Palazzi, Superintendent of the State Police, and the governor's actions today are huge. We have been here, along with many of our allied law enforcement, over 500 strong, since Wednesday, working with the city of Baltimore in various capacities, helping to maintain as much order as possible. As you've seen, many groups continue to splinter and move around the city of Baltimore, looting, committing crimes in certain areas, setting places on fire. Our mission has been and will continue to be the preservation of life and the preservation of property. I have had conversations this evening with Commissioner Batts. He certainly understands the scope of what has happened and that we're coming in with additional forces to assist. The governor's statement of, or declaration of the emergency order is big in that it allows us to branch out even further. We've already put out a request for up to 500 additional law enforcement from the state of Maryland regionally to come out and provide assistance, but through an EMAC request, which the MEMOP director will talk about in a little bit. We're putting out a request for up to 5,000 law enforcement from the regional area in the Mid-Atlantic to assist us as well. We are asking that they be equipped with the necessary equipment for their own personal safety, as well as to assist us in deploying things. Kind of a plan in the next few hours is to work with other local law enforcement leaders, kind of divide up the city into certain sectors, which we will then go sector by sector trying to protect, starting ideally with the hottest areas first, which we're waiting for that briefing from BPD right now, and then work in concert with the National Guard as they come on board to maintain security of those areas. At this time, it's all I have.
Thank you, Colonel. Now we're going to turn the floor over to Clay Stamp, who is the Director of the Maryland Emergency Management Agency.
Thank you, Governor. Ladies and gentlemen, the governor's been clear from day one. We activated this past Saturday at his direction to integrate our actions with the city of Baltimore as they dealt with this situation. We've had over 400 state policing agencies in the city working with them. Today turned another chapter, and as the governor said, he declared a state of emergency. This was done after the mayor of Baltimore declared a state of emergency. That means that they've exceeded their capability, and they actually need help from the state of Maryland to move in and to support their efforts to curb the situation. What you see here is a full court press. You see representatives from organizations across the state agency, as well as volunteer organizations that are bringing the full weight of the state government to deliver resources to achieve the governor's goals, which are clear. We will be working diligently in our different sections that are activated: transportation support, law enforcement, health and medical, human services, and through planning, logistics, and operations, we will achieve the necessary results we need to achieve, again, the governor's directive. I'll turn it over to Governor Hogan again. Thank you, sir.
Lastly, before we take your questions, we're going to turn the podium over here to General Linda Singh, who is the Adjutant General of the Maryland Guard.
No content will be found to speak on the screen.
Thank you, Governor. As the Governor mentioned, the Maryland Guard is actually going to be out in activation this evening. And what you need to understand is that he has access to our full complement that's here within the state, which means up to about 5,000 troops that can be put onto the streets to actually protect property and people. I would highly recommend that we all go in and take cover for the night and actually go to sleep and get some rest and let things settle down so that we can restore order to the city. We are going to be out in massive force, and that just basically means that we are going to be patrolling the streets and out to ensure that we're protecting property. We are in a supporting mode, so if there are any questions about martial law, this is not martial law. Martial law means that at that point the military fully takes over, so we are not at that point. I repeat, not at that point. We are in support of the police department, and we will be taking our direction from the police department as in where we're going to go out and support. Thank you.